Hello, everyone. How are we all doing? Come on in, sit on down. We're time for another Truth or Therapy sessions. What are we now? Episode 98. 100's just around the corner. I'm working on something special. I'm winging it. I'm trying to do something for you guys, so that's coming around the corner very soon to celebrate 100 episodes. I'm very excited. And today I also have a guest. It's been a while since I've had a guest on this podcast because I've been so wrapped up in other things and trying to get the other channel going and, just spinning many plates at once, and I've not really had much chance to kind of reach out to creators and say, hey, do you want to come talk with me? Let's have a conversation. So I've been putting the feelers out, and I've got a few people lined up over the coming weeks, which I'm quite excited about, and I'm very excited about today's guest as well. But before we get there, I just want to quickly let everyone know that at the end of this podcast, you will be redirected to my other channel, Understanding Creativity, if you're listening live, because I have a new video premiering on there at the end of this, which is a 2-hour presentation discussing Pablo Picasso and the dark behind the scenes life of this person who's revered as perhaps one of the greatest artists of all time. So what I'm going to do for you guys, I'm going to play you a quick 1-minute promo video, which is the introduction to all of my occult artist presentations. I always do this little thing with them. My music in the background, it's me playing piano, it's all me, and it's our guest lecturer discussing what she thinks about Picasso, kind of laid over some edgy images. So I'm going to play that for you as a bit of a teaser, and then once that's done, guys, we're going to start the show. I'm going to introduce the guest. So just bear with me as I get this lined up for you. We'll switch that off, and here it is, guys.
And this focused ambition that comes with the sense of self-importance, it brings people from kind of average talented artists to world stage. And there's no doubt Picasso is on world stage. Dali was always very jealous of Picasso, and he said that Picasso was destroyer of art, concerned with ugliness. And Picasso himself again says these seemingly throwaway lines, women are machines for suffering. He just didn't see them as equals. And the art world will protect that by calling these women his muses, his inspirations. He was an extreme narcissist, and nobody begs to differ.
And there we go. So yeah, guys, new channel, Understanding Creativity. That's the next installment of an ongoing series. There's already 3 out already. You can go and check them out. Very excited about this one. And the next one should be even juicier and deeper than what we're doing so far. It seems like we're just getting deeper into a dark rabbit hole of the art world with each passing presentation. So exciting stuff. Go and subscribe to that channel if you haven't already. It really helps me, and there's some fascinating stuff on there you're not going to find on this channel with more of an art-based theme. So with that being said, today's guest is somebody I've kind of been following for maybe about half a year or so, and he very much reminds me of kind of how I used to make videos maybe like 3 years ago. I'm often just driving around in my car back then because it's the only time I had any time to do anything, in between work and having a child, So it's kind of, I would talk a lot in my car. And I got the office now, I've got the podcast going, and we've got a bit more of a thing going on, a theme, But I've been listening to this guy, and he's kind of doing the exact same format I used to do. So I kind of felt like a kindredness with the guy originally, just because it was nice to listen to somebody just talking, being real and actually just talking for once, rather than putting on a show in any way. And I was listening to him talk, and I was like, I really like what this guy's saying. I like his attitude. I like his personality. I think he's really down to earth, and just the way he flows with his conversation. He's clearly a man of experience as well. So without further ado, Michael, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yep, I'm there. I can hear you. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for having me on, Paul. Yeah, it's really great to be here.
No problem. So I'm just showing the guys your channel now so they can see what it looks like. And obviously, they can go and subscribe. Links should be in the description of this video. But if not, just type in Truth Tiger or @TruthTiger and go check it out here so you can go and subscribe. But before I just switch the screen over now to Zoom so they can see you guys as well. There we go. So they can see us talking now. So yeah. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. like I said, I very much really enjoy what you're doing. And I'm in the world of conspiracy, you know, and I feel like the topics you discuss, which is predominantly narcissism, or at least the way people behave in society today. And it very much feels like you're talking from experience, from what I gather. But I think there's a crossover here between my world on YouTube about conspiracy and kind of the way people behave today and how they've kind of been manipulated and controlled to kind of behave in this specific way. But I've always kind of contended that if there are people trying to control us at the very top or in some way influence civilization, these guys are narcissists through and through. Gaslighting, narcissists at its finest. And narcissism is kind of a subject I've really loved to dive into every now and then on my channel for this reason, because I think it's like important to get a refresher every now and then, especially if you're a researcher or looking out for truth, you know, to remember that we're kind of in a world full of these types of people. So with that being said, I'd like you just to fill me in, because obviously, like I said, I've only been following you for so long. I don't really know your backstory. I'd like to just know who you are, let my audience know who you are, what you do online, and tell us your story. How did you end up in this position? What's your story, man?
Sure. It's a little bit of a long story. It's a little bit winding, but I started to wake up to narcissists. I started to realize that a lot of the people I was around were very manipulative, kind of jumping around a little bit. When I grew up, I was an Orthodox Jew. It was very religious. I didn't like it. I had a lot of strict rules, you know, you have to do the Sabbath and there's all these fast days. And it was just this very smothering, judgmental environment that I felt really trapped in. I didn't know what narcissism was back then, but I'm like, man, everyone's just judging me up in my business. And, you know, so I got away from that. And I got a little older, kind of did a little new age stuff. And then I found Jesus Christ. But when I went to the church, there was a lot of narcissistic people there, a lot of manipulative, controlling people that were using religion to try to control me, kind of like when I was younger. And something just woke me up. You know, God just showed me some videos and I started to realize, like, man, this describes my parents. This describes most of the people I know. And unfortunately, when I was younger, it described even some of my own tendencies, you know, to look at myself in the mirror like that, which is not easy to do. But I was like, man, like this narcissism stuff is a problem. And I was having health issues and I was like struggling in life. And I'm like, man, I got to get away from these narcissists. And I had people in the workplace just really being weird and manipulative, questioning everything I did. And if I told them to help me out with something, they would be really mad about it. And I'm like, man, it's such like this control battle, this ego battle. And I just woke up to it and I realized, I'm like, man, people are so manipulative. Everyone's just playing games. Everyone's trying to kind of get over and like emotionally kind of get your energy and, you know, be very critical and try to be controlling. But at the same time, they kind of cling on to you a bunch and, you know, they're very needy. And I'm just like, man, like, what is going on with all these toxic people? And when you make your broader point about the world, you know, as part of my waking up process, I stumbled upon a guy named Mark Passio, and he is a former Satanist, and he's dedicated his life to researching what's kind of going on at the top of society. And I kind of figured out, I was like, man, there's all these controlling narcissists around me. I'm like, what about the people at the top? Like, how much more narcissistic are they going to be? And then, you know, that ties into the Epstein Island and the Diddy parties and all that. And I'm like, wait, we live in this narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic society. It puts on a mask like everything is nice and good, but underneath, it's like, what's really going on? Where's our tax money going? Why do we have all these wars? Why is everybody so judgmental and hateful? And I'm just like wondering, like, why is society so judgmental? There's all these fake morals and, you know, people will take their politics and they'll use it as a way to be very like they beat their chest. Like, I'm such a good person because of this politics. And, you know, I'm in Seattle. So where I'm at with a lot of the kind of more left-wing politics, people really will kind of go on this weird moral crusade and, you know, we'll be like, you're either in our group or out of our group. And if you're not in our group, we don't like you as much. And I'm kind of realizing, I'm like, what's going on in the world? Why are we so divided? Why is everything so strange? You know, people are so about money. And I just kind of started to talk about it and just kind of put the pieces all together. And I realized, like, the narcissistic people, the manipulative people that are around me, it's this whole manipulative society and this manipulative world. And the Bible will talk a lot about the evil of the world, saying, the devil is the Lord of this world. And I'm kind of realizing, like, yeah, he is. And this kind of ties more into your stuff. But, from what I've researched, the people at the top, they seem to be either Luciferians or Satanists, or they seem to maybe commune with some kind of demons. I don't know how that all works, but they burn an effigy in Bohemian Grove, and they do all this weird stuff. And, I think with Epstein stuff, I didn't research it a ton, but I think there were some weird rituals going on there. And, the more I've looked into it, I'm just like, man, like, this is kind of the devil's world. It's God's universe, but it's the devil's world. And, it's a lot of these little narcissistic devils that get created because of that. And yeah, I would say that's kind of the core of my work. I just talk about just like, kind of rants, like stuff I see in society. Like, it seems like people are kind of losing their love and kindness. People aren't friendly, breakdown of communities. So I try to stay on top of it. I'm not too super structured in what I talk about, but that's kind of the basic gist of my story, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was good. Well done, man. No, I enjoyed that. But I think there's something you said there, you have this realization once you just see how terrible people are in general, and you start trying to like follow the trail of like, how did we end up like this? And you do inevitably discover it's kind of like, oh, these narcissistic, psychopathic, sociopathic Luciferians are giving us their personalities. They're like making us like them in a way. They're doing everything they can to like degrade us, make us perverted and reprobate in every way, to the point where we're just completely egotistical and self-centered and out for ourselves, and just trying to get our own in a way. And that's exactly what they are. That's who they are as people. And I feel like in a way they've like trauma bonded us through so many events, just experimentation on civilization, mass psychosis events, just horrible traumatic things done to us that they've controlled and made happen, to the point where we've just broken and got to this point where we are closed off, isolated. And it is an epidemic. Like you said, you got self-reflective there. It's kind of, where's the narcissism within me? And I, when I kind of was born again, came to Christ, I had to do some real self-evaluation and really look at who I was as a person and the things I had done to other people and what it was truly rooted in. And yeah, it was there. It was there, but it's not who I am. I do believe you can do your best to change as a process, but I think we should always be checking ourselves to say, are we really behaving as we should be? Are we really being forgiving and loving and caring and just chill, chill out, as you kind of like repeat in your videos, like people just need to chill out, man. Why is everyone so like angry all the time? But I'm empathetic though. I get it. I get why you're like this. It's rigged, man. It's geared against us in a way.
Yeah. No, 100%. To your first point, I talk about what I call the matrix a lot, or the system. And the thing about the human mind, we're very programmable. Like the human mind we learn everything from someone or someplace or somewhere in society. And I would say a lot of the societal programming comes from the top, from the societal institutions, be it government, be it global government like the UN, be it the medical system, the education system, the legalism, the court system, the military. There's way more than I can name. Even organized crime would be a part of this. There's more than I can even name, but there's all these kind of things at the top of society. Media and entertainment, that's a big one too that I missed. But all that stuff is coming in and coming to us and is programming us, and it's teaching us to be sort of narcissistic, selfish, like kind of psycho people. And for a lot of it, they try to make it look good on the outside, like, like for the medical system, something like that. They try to make it look good on the outside, like this is nice. But you look at stuff underneath, you're like, man, a lot of people are just, worshiping the almighty dollar, trying to get ahead, just trying to get as much money as they can. And a lot of it, you realize it's like manipulative, it's controlling, like advertisements. They're very they're trying to like kind of program your mind. And there'd be a car ad I saw, and it's like a woman driving away from a bad date, and it's like, well, at least I have my Hyundai Sonata. And I'm like, man, that's so manipulative, But there could be a woman watching that who just had a bad date, and then she's like, I want to buy a Hyundai for some reason, and I don't know why, So there's all this kind of, it's like they're really putting their fingers into our brains and making us into these weird people. And in that, organized religion's a big part of this system too. And in that, we're not learning to love our fellow. we're not learning to have a true connection with God. We're not learning to just be good people. We're learning to like seek social status, get over on other people, play the role of a victim and talk about, and say, I'm this big victim, or to be somebody who's like, big and egotistical and I'm so high on the social ladder. I'm so much better than you. And it's like, man, we're not really learning to like be a community, help each other, love each other. People will just take on some like political ideology and then be like, there, I'm a good person because of the political ideology. And people just really get bamboozled, and people don't think for themselves. They really follow along with this stuff. Not to talk on too long, but I remember back when I was 19 or so. I'm 31 now, turning 32 pretty soon here. I remember, I'm with a friend, not a close friend, but with a roommate. We're on the couch at 2 a.m. We're smoking weed. We're just hanging out doing dumb stuff. And this Taco Bell ad comes on, and it goes, I got the late night munchies. And he's like, dude, we got to go to Taco Bell, man. We got to get that. And I'm like, bro, they know it's 2 a.m. They know we're some dumb stoners staying up late watching a stupid TV show. Like, dude, they're just getting us, And he got kind of mad at me and didn't want to hear it. But I've been seeing this stuff for a long time. And to your second point about like self-reflecting and stuff, like, yeah, I was a child of this world. I was a child of society. I always felt like I had this good spark inside of me. But yeah, I remember being younger, I got very ambitious. I wanted to get over. I thought I was, I thought I was so great. But at the same time, I really hated myself. And yeah, I remember a lot of the people I was around, they were just the same way I was. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to be egotistical like them. And I even had an old coworker tell me that he wants to be a sociopath so he can get ahead. And that was kind of more when I was around 25 and I was figuring stuff out. And he was a narcissist. He was weird to me. And that was one of the times like, whoa, like this guy's trying to like bamboozle me every way he can, boss me around every way he can, be weird to me every way he can. Like I really like started to hate the guy, and I finally confronted him, and he kind of cracked and whatever, like But it was just these things where I'm like, man, now all these people are like turning against me, and yeah, it's a weird deal. It's like I'm leaving hell. It's like I'm leaving a gang, and now the other guys in the gang like want to like kill me now or something. I don't know what it is, but
I think
yeah,
you talk about it quite a lot, actually, kind of what
yeah,
the issue is, and I think I noticed it in my own life, and when I was giving up cannabis myself, actually,
yeah,
years ago now, and it's kind of when you take those steps to try and become better, everyone around you takes that as a personal attack against themselves because they are not making those changes, and it's kind of deep down they're like, "What, you think you're better than me?" And they don't want to support you. And this is how you can tell the difference between somebody who's actually a friend and somebody who's just, what do you call them? Like a friend of convenience, I guess is a good way to describe them. They just have you in their life because you give them something in some way. They don't actually care about you per se, but they keep you around in their sphere because you're useful. And I think friends will support you if you make those type of decisions. They'll say, good for you, man. Let me help you in any way I can. I won't smoke around you anymore or something like this. They encourage each other, build each other up. But more often than not, what your social group will tend to do is the opposite. They'll say, no, I'm not hanging around with them anymore. They got all high and mighty. They think they're better than me. And they'll try and tempt you, and they'll say, go on, just have this anyway. Why, chill out, man. Why don't you just smoke? And they'll do everything they can to kind of bring you down back to their level. And that's kind of how I've noticed it. Have you seen the same, or am I just making stuff up here?
No, 100%. I agree with you. Yeah, I've encountered that a lot where it's like, for one, I found out that who my real friends really were, and I realized I didn't really have a lot of them. And I have some better friends now and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I really realized it's like we were all kind of in this crab bucket, just kind of dragging each other down, staying kind of, stuck in the bottom. And when I made some changes, and especially when I made changes of faith, a lot of people were not happy with me and did not really want to be my friend anymore. And, I kind of got to a point where I'm like, I have a life mission. I have to shine my light in the world. I can't just sort of stay down in the bottom like I was before. And a lot of the people, they get very offended by that because, yeah, it goes against really who they are. It goes against pretty much everything for who they are. And yeah, I've had to really deal with that one a lot, with people really switching it up on me and being fake and stuff. And I really realized with a lot of my family, especially, they just wanted to keep me stuck. They wanted to really just keep me where I was at. And, in terms of being my own person, being successful, stuff like that, like, I don't think they really like wanted that for me so much. Like, I don't even
Hmm.
know. I think they were just trying to like get as much energy and attention out of me as they could. And there was a lot of drama, and just that's another part of it, is a lot of people had a lot of drama and stuff that I didn't want to be around myself. So I'm like, these people are just arguing all the time, fighting all the time, and I can't be around that. So I think it was also a decision on my part to make distance. But
Hmm.
I have had a lot of people, like coworkers and stuff, just like activate against me, where they're just like, all of a sudden they just become my enemy and try to like sabotage me and mess me over and stuff. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? But yeah,
I've
I
had
think
that.
it's
I've
like,
had that too. I've had the exact
yeah,
same thing happen to me. In the workplace is really vicious for it. Like,
yeah,
no one's your friend at work. I think people need to really learn this. Like, the people you work with are not your friends. Like, they
yeah,
like to pretend they are sometimes. You might go out for like a night out with them every now and then, that for a drink or something, or to celebrate something, but that doesn't make them your friends. When it comes to like work, everybody's out for themselves, and you need to realize that. And it's kind of, I was in like a small middle management level at a supermarket, and I wanted to go for a promotion to go to the next level. And as soon as I did that, well, things change because other people at your level suddenly see you as a threat rather than an equal then. And honestly, the switch in people is terrifying. And I literally had like backbiting, petty little things happening where they would kind of like do me in to my boss for no reason whatsoever, or even lie, and I'd have to outright say, "Why are you lying?" It's kind of, you have to confront them. It's kind of, and they really do start to just try to break you, because no longer are you just a person who's trying to live the life and earn money and for your family, whatever it is. It's like, no, you're a threat to my position of power, my authority. And in these workplaces, I've found that the people who get to these positions of management, of especially like this middle level, where it's kind of like they haven't got so much authority, they rule over everybody, but they have enough just to kind of have influence over the smaller levels of staff, but they never take full responsibility because they're not at the top. You know what I mean? That level are the worst type of people, and they love staying there. It's like better than most people, but still mediocre in a way. I can't explain that level. You know what I mean? They don't have higher aspirations. They're happy kind of being like a little Hitler over like their little kingdom in a way. And when you among them, and I ended up among them, I'm like, I'm not like these people. I can't play this game. I'm sorry, I just can't do it, and that's one of the big reasons I left that business and do what I do today, because it's like I can't be surrounded with this anymore. It's killing me. Like, these people are psychopaths. These people are evil. They're out for themselves. They are doing everything they can to break my psyche at any turn, just over this petty power position in a company that doesn't care about them, and I couldn't understand it, to the point where I had to just cut off. I'm done. I quit. It's simple as that. And I'm going to go and do what I actually want to do in my life, And even then, when I said I was doing that, the judgment came. And it's kind of, you're not going to make it, businesses fail in the first year. And it's like, it was nothing but negativity all the time. And I don't know why. I didn't feel like I did anything to deserve any of it. I'm a nice guy. I was
yeah,
nice to people. And I realized, that was my problem, wasn't it? I was nice. That's my issue. And my wife is like, she doesn't take any nonsense. She just
yeah,
doesn't. She grew up in quite a rough life, and has probably dealt with narcissism in her own family as well, and abuse and all these type of things. So it gets to this point where it's like she can tell when somebody's evil from a mile away. I'm naive. I assume the best in people, and she's like, no, why would you do that? People are not good inherently. Like, she knows that, and I don't know. I'm rambling on, but is anything else? I'll give the ball back to you, man. Anything you want to say on that?
yeah. No, I think that's great. Your wife is looking out, and I feel you on being a little naive. I was a little naive in the beginning. I thought that everyone's nice and everyone's cool, and I had to learn that most people are evil and most people are manipulative. And I talk about that a lot on my channel. And yeah, like in the workplace, like, I don't know what it was. I think maybe I was kind of been there. I was there for a longer. I was pretty competent at what I did. I was good at my job. And I think maybe that upset some people. They got jealous. I don't know. But I had a guy there, like, I work with some tech stuff, and I had like all these chargers plugged in a certain way. And he literally moves them around and like messes up the stuff I do. And I'm like, my manager was there. I'm like, yo, dude, are you seeing this? Like, I had this all set up this way. And now he's coming in and moving it and like messing it up. And I've had people try to cause HR problems with me. And yeah, I've just had a lot of weird stuff. And what's kind of funny, I find, is when I'm just like, they're like, you want to sit with me for lunch? I'm like, no, I'm just gonna sit by myself. Like, I've seen a lot of people like just get really broken and devastated by that when I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to really hang out with you, in the nicest way possible. But yeah, I don't know. I've had multiple coworkers just completely just turn against me and just be as manipulative and mean and as just weird as they possibly could. And I'm just like, man, what's going on? Like, I had one guy who'd always be yelling. I just anything I said, he would just get really mad. He finally got fired, but he would just be screaming. And I had another guy who we were talking about some stuff and we had a small disagreement over something not even work related. And he literally hyperventilates for like 2 hours straight, like that
Mm.
for literally 2 hours straight. He finally got fired, but I'm like, man, this is so uncomfortable being around these people. And there's like some demons or something in these people because I don't know, mental health issues, call it what you want, but because the behaviors that I'm seeing with some people are just like really, really crazy, really wild and out of left field out there. I mean, I told this story in one of my videos that did pretty well recently, but there was a hot tub in my apartment complex. And while a family was there with their child, this woman just goes in the hot tub naked. And then when the parents are like, hey, what are you doing? She starts cussing at them and freaking out. And I'm just like, people are really like just losing their minds out there. And I think because we're good, decent people, they like want to kick us around and direct it at us. And gosh, I don't know. I've had to really kind of put up a tough front and be kind of like a cat where I'm just like, I'm to myself. If I want to hang out with you, I'll hang out with you. If not, not. And I try to be as nice as I can. But it's just like, yeah, the workplace can be really rough, especially being of a different mind, believing in God, seeing through the system. Like, we're of a different mind than them. So they're kind of in this matrix beast kind of mentality, and we're in a different, and I think they can kind of sense it that I'm not one of them. And I think with the narcissists, especially when they sense that I'm not one of them, they're like, oh, we got to get him. We got to get him now. We got to be as passive aggressive, as controlling, as weird, as like, I've even had it where I'll say that I like a certain movie or TV show, and then I hate that TV show. I hate that movie. Like, really? You hate that? Like I had that, and it's just like, it's just the weird, it's just
Mm.
weird behavior. And I don't know if they feel rejected by me. I don't know why they act like that, but there's something they really have against me. I think they kind of see the love and the light. They see I'm rocking with God and they're rocking with the devil, and they're like,
I
let's
think
get
so.
them, you know?
Whether they're conscious of it or not, I think there is a spiritual undercurrent to something. Like everyone's in the chat now and they're saying it's demonic. It's clearly demonic. Yeah. This is a demonic situation where people just irrationally explode over the most trivial things and will try and destroy you. Because they're kind of like, there's something in them that they can't really control in a way. And, you could say they're possessed by bad ideologies, something political, let's say. That's kind of like being possessed by a demon. Or maybe it is quite literally a spiritual entity who's in them, trying to make them believe the nonsense in their head that they tell them, that everyone's out to get you. You need to go get your own. You need to get your own pleasures, fulfill your own things. That person over there is a horrible person because, look, he thinks he's better than you. He's judging you. And they have these thoughts going on in their heads that have no basis in reality whatsoever. So they feel justified in attacking, and maybe that's just more about mental illness rather than narcissism. Who truly knows? But this is the problem with the society today. It's falling apart at the seams. And I said the people are just weird now. I've noticed it. I think you've seen it. We've all seen it. Something's weird with people. I can't explain it, and I think maybe the pandemic has really done a number on people, especially recently. They're not the same. And people are not connected as they used to be. People don't talk to each other anymore. And I think this isolation is getting like deeper and deeper into the psyche of every individual within it. And I think we are getting a bit strange. And I think obviously with social media kind of replacing that, AI kind of on the rise as well, replacing social interaction with, mechanical interaction and something. People are strange. People are getting weird. Do you have anything on that yourself? Because you mentioned like some woman randomly just got in a hot tub naked with a family with a kid. And I think when in your video she said she was just looking for some narcissistic supply. clearly she wasn't getting it from anyone else, and just went in there to start a fight, basically. I don't know, but that's weird. What she did was weird. That's like so extreme. Like, at least in the past, most narcissists were covert. But what are they now? Like, it's the norm, and it's kind of like, you're a bigot if you don't let me be naked in this hot tub, and it's kind of, what? I'll give it to you. I don't know. I'm ranting.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that one. I think narcissism is considered a form of mental illness. So I think it is definitely connected with mental illness. And I think it's a form of demonic possession as well, where I think these people have demons living in them that are telling them to be very egotistical and are sort of advising them and guiding them along. And I think they're sort of seeking power from that. And they think that they will become empowered by acting like that, and by just being super it's all about me, screw everybody else, and being in a very solipsistic mindset. I only know what I know. I only know the stuff around me, and any knowledge outside of that doesn't even really exist in their mind. So I think it's this very me mentality where they're not really able to empathize with people. They don't really care about other people very much. And I don't know what's going on with people out there. People out there are just getting real weird. There's multiple people I'll see in my apartment complex that are talking to themselves and stuff. And I think maybe it's just the isolation and the lack of love. And I think the lack of community. I think people used to be friendly. They used to hang out. You could talk to people easily. You can make friends easily. There was a sense of we're all kind of this community. We're all together. But I think now we're just all divided, and we're all kind of against each other. And I don't know. I think that the overall consciousness has kind of gone down. I think overall morals and ethics have gone down. Love has gone down. Hope has gone down. And I think it's more in this state of doubt, of hatred, of fear. And I think their overall consciousness has just sort of gone down. And I think people are just becoming more unhappy than they ever were. And we're just seeing a weird world form and get manifested. And I think when you're the one who's spiritually woken up and who's gone through that journey, on some level, I'll say this: before I had a spiritual awakening, I might have hated on myself before I was spiritually awakened. So I will say that to be, merciful and understanding about it. But I think when you're the one who was awoken, they're all like, what's he doing? Why is he awakened? Why is he not doing what we're doing? Why is he not thinking the way we're thinking? And, it just gets people are just we got to get him, kind of the same way they wanted to get Jesus. They want to get us in the same way. And I think he said that the world hates me. How much more so will they hate you guys who follow me? So,
oh yeah,
I think that's, yeah.
Yeah, I made a whole series about that idea. It's called Tips for Truthers. And it's not to try and, I think people get a bit annoyed with me and angry because they think I'm trying to tell people to be quiet or not to tell the truth or spread the truth or let people to Jesus or something like this. And I'm saying, no. You need to be tactful about how you're going to do that, because the world is not safe and the people out there will hurt you big time. You have to be very clever about how you let people know what you know, shall we say. If you're thinking about these concepts outside of society, which people in it are not thinking about, that can be very dangerous when you pipe up, because they'll see that. It's like the analogy of the Matrix. They're agents in a way, and you're going to bring down their illusion. And they're not going to thank you for that. They're going to hate you big time and even destroy you. And I have this whole tips to try and get people to realize that before they make a huge mistake and just destroy their life and make enemies of everyone around them. Because I get the feeling, you get the feeling, when you first start to realize a few things, you want to tell people, you want to help them. You want them to see, you know what I mean? And it's out of love you go out there and start opening your mouth and not shutting up for 2 hours straight and realizing you've just been talking for 2 hours about all these crazy things you've found, And the person who's listening is like, this person's lost their mind. I don't want to know anything about what they're on about. I like my illusion. I like my life. I don't want to know. And then you get ostracized and it spreads and becomes a big problem. So I've kind of been trying to mitigate that damage for most people who kind of become truthers, is probably a good way to describe it. Becoming a Christian and born again is a whole other problem. I mean, you can be a truther and not a Christian, you know what I mean? But when you actually get to that level and get filled with the Holy Spirit and you're actually on that level of peace, you finally got that level of peace in you, which everyone's craving. they're desperate for it, in this world, because this world's horrible. Like I said, the devil's running amok. We call it in our community, it's the last season of Satan, and he's going hard. You know what I mean? This is his last. It's not, he doesn't own the world, but he certainly has a season here where he's got his chance to do what he needs to do, and it's rough. It's really rough, So again, I'm rambling here, but yeah, I've got some tips about that. I get where you're coming from. You've got to be so careful about how you tell people these things, especially if you're like a Christian and you start talking about God. I mean, that's just you're asking for trouble. You are. Jesus said there will be haters is another popular phrase we like to say around here.
Yeah. Well, Jesus said, be as gentle as a dove, but as shrewd as a serpent. So, he says, be gentle, be nice, but also you got to be very clever and like not give an inch. And, I remember I saw a snake where I live. We don't have poisonous snakes where I'm at. So I thought maybe I'll see I thought it was maybe a toy a kid left out that I saw was real. And I'm like, maybe I'll grab this thing. And the second it saw me, it just immediately, without even looking at me, it just turned away, went in a little hole and ran away. And I'm like, all right, so you got to be very like quick to walk away, very good at judging situations, figuring out what's going on. You got to be very clever. When I first found Christ, I wasn't really much of a truther then, but I first found Jesus Christ. I grew up as an Orthodox Jew. Jesus is a big, big no-no among the Orthodox Jews and among most Jews, unfortunately. And I was like, I got to tell my friends about this. I got to get them on board. The Bible makes sense now. And I remember I told, a family, of these Orthodox Jews, the reason why God asked Abraham to sacrifice Isaac and then stopped him at the last minute is because God would sacrifice his own son, Jesus Christ. And that made sense to me. I told them that. And, now they all hated me. And I'm like, just super embarrassed. And I'm like, wow, now all these people and my friends don't like me anymore. And I realized I should have been more clever about that, kind of get someone individually, talk to them, warm them up to it, then get them there. But at that point, I was very naive. And at that point, I was like, man, like my whole life has been a lie. Like I gotta save them. I gotta get them on the right spiritual path. I don't want these people to end up with hellfire. And I just don't want them to live in a delusion either. So I'm like, I got to break them out. But then I learned there, I'm like, yeah, that's not the way to do it. Whoops. Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, you did the best you can. I mean, you've got to preach the gospel, and you need to preach the gospel. It is what it is. The truth is the truth, and He is the truth, the way, and the life. And you've got to do it, And even if at the cost of losing people around you, unfortunately, it's kind of the commission. We're kind of supposed to do that. But yeah, I think there is like a way. There's a time and a place. There's methods you can learn to be more successful and make people more receptive, and it kind of comes with practice, unfortunately, and I can give advice, but at the end of the day, you got to go out there and just do it for yourself. So I won't be too hard on yourself for any of that at all. But I am interested to kind of like go back and maybe listen to your story about kind of dealing with narcissistic abuse within your family, kind of growing up, and I'm curious to know how that kind of panned out and ended in the end, because there's a big term in narcissistic circles, researchers called no contact. I'm just wondering if that's something you've kind of enacted yourself, or if you have any experience with dealing with no contact, because I know it's a process. I know it's easier said than done, and I know there's many ways it's kind of done. Low contact is another common term I've heard as well. And if you want to maybe like tell your story as much as you want to give away, about what it was like in your own narcissistic abuse, and kind of what your methods were to kind of get away in a way. Do you want to kind of go down that route?
Yeah. So with my parents, I've gone no contact with both of them. They fought a lot. It was a very weird relationship, I guess I could say. And I remember with my mom, she was calling me up, telling me the latest thing about their divorce, what the latest thing about this Tinder boyfriend and this and that. And I remember I'm just feeling like, man, I just feel very smothered by this person. Like, this person's kind of crazy. I don't want to deal with her. And I remember I went to my dad's house for a barbecue, and he grew up Catholic. He's actually not Jewish. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in my family. I'll say that. But, so then he's like saying all this bad stuff about my faith and so many backhanded insults and just weird stuff. And I'm like, man, like he just doesn't really respect me at all. And it's just like sneaking in so many insults and stuff. And then I kind of thought back to childhood. I remember I get a C+ on the report card, and then my mom just takes my computer away indefinitely. And then a month later, I just kind of set it back up, and I'm like, okay, I guess I have my computer back now. This is weird. And I just remember just like if she'd get in a bad mood, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be a good day. Like this is a crazy story, but she bet my dad $10,000 that his dad, my papa, would pass away in his month, would pass away in a month. And when my papa didn't, my dad's like, all right, you owe me 10 grand, pay up. And then my mom's cussing and screaming. And there was just this a weird dynamic in the family I grew up in. My parents, they were these kind of boomer hippies. And then my mom was like, was like ethnically and kind of culturally Jewish, but not religious at all. Then she decided to become super religious. And my dad was just like kind of there alongside. And I don't know, my dad would be very passive aggressive. He'd be like, oh, you get to go to school and hang out. I was stuck in an hour traffic jam putting food on the table for this family. And they did a lot of weird stuff. Like my mom got all this plastic surgery. My dad was buying all these cars and just blowing all the family money. And it's honestly too much to kind of put together. But I'm just realizing like, man, these people are just toxic. Like this is not what I want to be around. This is just there's other problems and other stuff I don't really want to get into, but it was just like, man, like I can't be around these people. And it just like anything like to kind of make me into the bad guy, make me play the fool, like, I don't know, and there were just some moments I had. Like, I remember they asked me to give directions on a family trip, and my phone wasn't working, and something was off with it. And I'm like, hey, guys, someone else got to do the Google Maps. My phone's not working. Nobody listens. I'm like, hey, guys, someone else has to do the directions. My phone's not working. Nobody even listens to me. And then I have to literally like scream and cuss and yell. And then finally, they're like, someone else takes over for it. And I'm just like, these people just don't have zero respect for me. I'm just like, man, I really just hate being around these people. Like, I have so much more peace just not being around all that. And it's just like, I realized that I've become a very angry person being around that, and that I didn't like who I would be being around that. And they're not going to change, they're going to give a little fake apology here, but then, go back on it and say it really wasn't that bad. And I don't know, like when I went to school, like my high school was this Orthodox Jewish all boys school. I was not allowed to talk to girls. My dormitory was like 30 teenage boys in just a regular house. So we had like, I remember my bedroom was like 4 or 5 other guys in there, and super strict schools, like 10, 11 hours a day. You got to do the prayers 3 times a day. Very smothering environment. It was not good for my development or my future. And it was just like this weird stuff. And there's no like apology or no like, hey, that was jacked up. We were making some bad decisions there. We should have cared about your education more. And, there's no like accountability whatsoever. And, other stuff that happened also, there was no accountability for either. And I'm like, you know what? I can't be around these people. They're just so toxic. And the thing is, they use the family ties and the family binds. These narcissistic parents, they love to say, I'm your mom and I love you so much. I'm your dad. I love you so much, son. Oh, we have such good time together. Aren't we having such good father-son bonding time? You're my special young handsome man. They do all this stuff to like, it's like they give you all this candy to like keep you coming in. But I realize it's like that just love bombing. They're just trying to gas me up so I won't see how they really are and just like walk away from it. Like there's other stuff that I observed and whatever was around, and I'm just like, man, like this family sucks. Like I have a few siblings I'll still talk to here and there, but for the most part, I don't want nothing to do with it. I'm good. And the thing is also, I've talked to other people who've had even worse situations than me, and it's a crisis of parenting and families and actual good parents. I've known people, crazy stepdad beats the crap out of them every day. I've known people, the mom was on a bunch of drugs when she was pregnant with him. Like I've known people who've had even worse stuff happen to them than me, but it's just like, man, like what's wrong with our families and our parents? And like, why can't we just be loving and decent with our kids and, give them some proper discipline, put them in the proper direction, give them love, like show them how to do stuff. But man, not most families, and definitely not mine. Definitely not mine. So
I'm
that's
sorry
kind
to
of
hear that. It sounds rough,
yeah,
and my
yeah,
heart goes out to you because I'm blessed. I'm lucky. I had okay parents, They weren't
Yeah.
perfect, but they weren't evil. They weren't out to get me. They were chilled out, and they were there when I needed them, and they were loving. And like I said, in terms of like it's called like boomers, I think there's an issue in general with that generation's attitude towards child rearing, and it's. I'm not trying to disparage an entire generation of people. They're not all like that, but I think that stereotypes exist for a reason is what I'm trying to say here, and I'm sure my generation of parenting are going to have their issues as well, and our children are going to be traumatized for something we did in the future, and they're going to bring it up. But I do feel like I'm lucky and blessed, but I've known people in my life who were not, and they didn't have good parents, and the parents really didn't want them in a way. That's basically what it comes out as. But they have this, like you said, they play off this, well, we're family. You have to love me. You have to be in my life. You can't cut me out. I'm your X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, you know what I mean? It's kind of blood is thicker than water type mentality. It's kind of like, well, actually, no. And I think even Christianity is a good way to kind of see it this way as well. It's like, well, actually, who is your mother? Who is your father, realistically? When you really think about it, it's kind of like, we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. We're all family under Jesus in that respect. And it's kind of, if they haven't treated you like a child or have respected you as though you're a child, then do they really deserve to call themselves your father or mother in a way? Did they even raise you as though they were your parents? And it's kind of just because they are doesn't mean they are necessarily, And I think we're kind of waking up to that in the modern age. I think a lot of people are getting very retrospective and introspective about the relationships. And narcissism is like a hot button word these days. And I am also worried. I don't know if you know about this, but it's kind of, I do feel like it's being bandied around a lot when it's not necessary as well. I think a lot of people are being accused of being narcissists when they're actually just probably broken people. They're just, you know what I mean? Not necessarily, they've not gone to that level of full demonic narcissism where they're out to get people in their own. Maybe, I think a lot of people are ignorantly narcissistic, passively narcissistic. It's kind of, they don't know they are. They're not trying to hurt people necessarily, but maybe it's traits they've just kind of adopted from modeling after their own parents, and it's this type of thing. I'll give the ball back to you. I said a lot there. If there's anything that's got you going.
I think a lot of people have egos. I have an ego. We all have an ego. Nobody's perfect. Only Jesus is perfect. So I think we all have flaws, and there's people I've known who have been a little bit bossy, a little bit controlling, a little bit annoying, but I would not call them narcissists. They just kind of have some flaws, some issues. So I think that'll be carted out a lot. And, I've seen some TikTok videos of, this girl with a ton of makeup on and she's crying and all my boyfriends were narcissists and all this stuff. And it's like, maybe you're a narcissist, And I remember I went on the Reddit narcissism thing and there was someone like that. And she's talking about how she's stalking her narcissistic ex-boyfriend. I'm like, wait a second. If you're stalking him, who's the real narcissist here? Because the stalking behavior, that's a very narcissistic thing where they'll kind of be really trying to keep tabs on you. They always kind of got you in the corner of their eye, So I've seen a lot of people do that to project and to try to put that onto somebody else. So I think it does get around, and I think there's a lot of people that's not knowledgeable about it. So if anyone's kind of toxic or annoying, they'll just be like, "Oh, a narcissist," I think, I think on some level, though, it is good that this narcissism thing is having awareness, spread to it. But I think that is kind of a consequence of that, is that people will mislabel it and misrepresent it, and anything out there, any truth out there can be twisted and manipulated. That's just kind of, unfortunately, the way of things, or be misunderstood. And there's people misunderstanding it and stuff like that. But if people really researched it, looked into it, watched a couple videos, read a book, I think that would be dispelled. I think a lot of people also have a victim mentality. And I kind of struggled with this early on in my channel where there's a lot of people that they want to think that everyone's out to get them. And there's this security guard was watching me and he's a narcissist and, that this kind of stuff, or, it's just maybe he was just kind of keeping an eye out on you, just doing his job. I don't know, some little thing will happen and it'll be narcissism. And I was kind of paranoid myself in the beginning too, figuring this stuff out. So I struggled with that a little bit myself too, to be honest, but I kind of realized wait, we got to define it. We got to really make clear definitions for who's a narcissist and who's not. And there's weird behavior patterns they have. I've seen a lot of narcissists, they'll literally poke their head in the door. I had a narcissistic boss do that. and he literally poked his head like in the door, like crouched down. I'm like, what are you doing that for? So there's kind of some tells that they'll do. I've had a lot of people, I'll say hi to them, they won't even say hi back. That's kind of another one. You just kind of watch people, see how they move, see if they're very jealous, and yeah. But I think it's a spectrum, though. It's a
Mhm.
spectrum, there's levels to it. There's some people are a little bit narcissistic, some people are super narcissistic. It just kind of depends. There's
I
some,
think there is
yeah,
like levels there. I think there's like a hyper intelligence type of narcissism, and they
yeah,
know what they're doing, and they're very
yeah,
calculated. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Malignant narcissism is a good way to describe this.
yeah,
And they are literally playing multiple games at once with many people to maintain
yeah,
their supply, drain them, and they're always looking to get the next victim at all times. They're always scanning, and they live in that state of predator mode. They are predators
yeah,
through and through. And then I think there's also stupid narcissism, like really
yeah,
low intelligence narcissism. And these people are
yeah,
too dumb to realize they're even narcissists. They don't even know that what they're doing to people. All they know is they have this addiction to supply, we'll call it,
yeah,
which they get from people, and they'll do things without thinking about it, and end up in prison. They're not
yeah,
like they're not thinking about it. And they're probably even more dangerous than the malignant ones in a way, because they don't have any thought for the consequences at all, even for themselves, because they're just operating on a basic low intelligence level. And they're the ones that usually end up in prison, you know what I mean? And locked
yeah,
up, but I think killing people, they'll go that far. But I don't like a real narcissist, a malignant narcissist will never kill somebody. I think realistically, what they'll do is they'll make the person kill themselves. It's that kind of thing.
yeah,
They're that calculated. You know what I mean? And they'll make the other person gaslight him to believing they're the problem. And they'll make everyone around them believe they're also the problem when it was them all along. Really hyper calculated, psychopathic, crazy stuff. And I think there's been an issue with a lot of people online kind of telling the stories that these people are everywhere that are like that.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And I think this is why it's become so popular of a topic online. And there's a huge
yeah,
culture talking about narcissism, like
yeah.
online now. And like, how many of those presenters get called narcissists themselves is what I'm also thinking. It's just like projection everywhere on all levels. But I think that we need to be hyper aware of these people that live with it among us, because
Yeah.
they're a predator race, and we're the prey in a way. So I don't know. I'll give it back to you there. That's my
I
thoughts on
would,
the two classes
yeah,
of narcissism.
yeah. I would say what you would call maybe a malignant narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath. I'm not necessarily a mental health expert, but I would say maybe with those types, they've kind of shut off all emotion, and they're kind of in this just weird gray, cold place, and they really can't feel anything anymore. So everything's just kind of a game, and they're not kind of quote unquote maybe burdened by emotions, I guess you could say, which
Hmm.
is not really the truth. They're in a state of like hyper depression, hyper anxiety, hyper self hatred. They're in this horrible black hole, but I think they've sort of divorced themselves from themselves and from their own feelings and emotions, and they can be very calculated. They can be very fake. They can put on masks. That's not most narcissists, though. Most narcissists, I would say, lack self awareness. Most narcissists, I would say, are very much like hurt children who want you to like them, who want you to approve of them. And if you don't like them or don't approve of them, you better watch out. They might freak out. And I
Hmm.
would say most narcissists, I would say, are fairly pathetic people. They're not really, they are predatory, I would say, but they're more predatory like a mosquito is predatory or something like
Hmm.
that. Like they're gonna fly around you, get a little blood, and hope they don't get smacked. That's what I've encountered with most
I
narcissists. And
suppose on the scale then of like
yeah,
stupid to malignant, those ones you're talking about are kind of in the middle, the majority in the middle, and like the extremes
yeah,
are the where things get really
yeah,
scary. But in the middle,
yeah,
we have this, like I said, the majority of them are just these, the ones you're describing, kind of
yeah,
this desperate for attention, me type, egotistical, hard to be around, just draining to be
yeah,
around people,
yeah,
only ever talk about themselves. If you a good
yeah,
example, and this has happened to me plenty of times. I've met a few, and I'm sure it's to you. Like the
yeah,
type of narcissist you're talking about, it's like you'll talk to them, you say, I've got this problem, like I've got this horrible pain in my shoulder. It's been there for months. It won't go
yeah,
away. And their response will be, yeah, my leg's been hurting a lot as well recently. It's kind of like, I think I need to go to the doctors. It's like they can't just like,
yeah,
it has to be their problem over you all the time. And that can get draining after a while. Like you come up to him and you need help. It's kind of, you're saying, look, man, I've got this issue going on. I don't know what to do about my mum. She's falling out me over it, whatever. Just make something up. Have a personal problem with a family member, and they'll be like, oh, I have so many problems with my family members. Like they can never once focus on the person in front of them. It has to always be about their thing. I think that's a. Can they self-correct that type of attitude? I don't know, but I think that they're the type of narcissist you're talking about. They're actually desperate for attention, but they feel like they need to talk their way to it in a way, or like, vomit their problems on people. Yeah, that's kind of how they get the attention. I don't know. So go ahead.
Yeah. Or they'll say, why is your shoulder hurting? Did you lift with bad form? Are you stretching good? Yeah, bro. Like, my shoulder doesn't hurt. What's wrong with you? What's up with you? Nothing that. I've had that a lot. And the truth is, what we described, I mean, I would say that's most people in the world. If you'll talk to them, they'll talk about how they have a bigger problem and they're actually a victim. Or they'll talk about how, why do you have that problem? What's wrong with you? So we do have a lot of people that are just very egotistical. They're very self-centered. And ego is just a big delusion people put on themselves because those people deep down really don't like themselves very much. Most of them have very deep childhood abandonment issues. Most of them did not come from good families or have good parents, and they're not dealing with that. So they're like, I'm going to build up all these self-delusions in my mind, and have that go down to my heart too, and put this up as a shield because deep down, I am this hurt, wounded child, who feels very unloved. And I would say for most narcissists, that's really what they are, is like a bratty child that's not loved, that's not cared about. So they're going to go around and be this annoying little brat pretty much and be in a mentality of like a bratty 3-year-old. And that's what I would say where most narcissists are at. Whereas I think with the sociopaths or maybe a narcissist who's, I would say with like sociopaths or psychopaths or whatever, it's kind of something different where they're just cold and shut off. But with most narcissists, it's like they really want people to like them. They want to be the center of attention. For covert narcissists, they want to act like a victim. They show a lot of false humility. They pretend to care. They pretend to be your best friend. And covert narcissists, I've had a hard time. Things have been tough. Things have been rough. You're the one person who cares about me. And then you'll have one small disagreement. You're the biggest, meanest bully in the world. You're horrible. How could you treat me that way? And, then you'll have the covert narcissists who are a little more clever about it. That's kind of how my dad was. And you won't really know at first, but then you'll realize like, oh man, this person's making me feel so guilty. And they're making me feel so bad for them. And they're getting all this false sympathy, so kind of ranting off to the side about covert narcissists. But I would say that's what you'll generally see is either someone who's grandiose and annoying and is like going to criticize you a lot, make it all about themselves. One thing I'll find with a lot of narcissists too is if I'm like at a restaurant eating with them, I'm like, hey, yo, let's sit at that table. They're like, no, we got to sit at that table. They just have to make decisions to make themselves feel in control. A lot like a way a bratty 3-year-old would be like, no, I want that toy, not the other one, So you'll I've dealt with that a lot. And it's annoying, it's belittling. It's like undermining you. And it's like, I should be empowered to make a small decision for the both of us, like what table we sit at a restaurant. Like, it's a very petty, like kind of mean, weird thing to do, but they'll do that. Like, no, we're sitting over there, and it's arbitrary. They just want control. And it's funny because I remember I had a little salary negotiation thing going back to work, and the person I was negotiating with did that. I'm like, you want to meet in that meeting room over there? He's like, no, we're going to the other one. And I'm like, I know I had him. I'm like, I got you. I'm going to get what I want here because, that's not a show of actual true strength. That's a show of like insecurity. Like I'm insecure, so I have to control things, So you'll deal with that a lot. And then back to the covert narcissist. They'll talk about how they're the biggest victim, about how everything's so hard for them and people are so mean and no one cares about them. And you better not betray me like all of them did. You better not be mean to me like all of them did. And, you're just like the rest of them, so that's the covert narcissist will hit you with that a lot. Covert narcissists, if they invite you over to their house, they'll make a huge show of like being a host. They'll run around, but oh, you want a cup of water? I'm gonna run and get you that glass of water. Oh no, no, sit down, don't do anything, you know. And they'll like be like, oh man, I'm working so hard to make you this tea. This is hard, stressful work to make this tea for you. This is hard, stressful work, but I'm doing this. I'm making this sacrifice for you, you know. I don't know if you kind of get what I'm saying there, but they'll make you feel very guilty in a subtle way where you're like, man, I feel so bad. I'm putting him out and he's getting that tea. She's had such a long day and she's, you know, running to get me the tea. She's making sure my seat is good. I feel horrible for her. I feel like I'm this big bully and I'm just whipping this poor little person and I have them on the leash and I'm dragging them around and I feel awful about myself when really they're playing that role and they're trying to make you feel like this bully. They're trying to make you feel like you're the biggest, meanest, most domineering, bad person, you know, but really it's the opposite though. Really they switch it up and then they say, oh, you forgot. Remember that one time you said that one critical thing of me? No, they'll remember it and they'll bring it back. And then you don't appreciate, I got you that coffee. I ran around the house after a long day. You don't appreciate it. You don't care about the things I do. You're ungrateful. And the thing is, if with the covert narcissist, if you fall for their scam and they earn your trust, you'll start to believe it and you'll start to feel really horrible about yourself. You'll start to be like, oh man, like, gosh, you know, she worked so hard and then she cooked me dinner after work and I could see how stressed out she is and how hard she's working. I just feel terrible for her. What can I do to make things nicer? What can I do to make you happy? Can I go to the grocery store and get you something? Can I do this? And it gets you in that state where you're like, gosh, I feel horrible for this victim. What can I do to help them? But it's what they want. It's what they want. And it's very tricky and it's very clever. And they leverage their own self-hatred and like turn it into a weapon against you. I don't know, man. It's crazy stuff, but I've had to deal with a lot of it. I've had definitely some people that I thought were cool people, were good people, and just switched it up. I had people I thought were there to help me, and they were not. And I've had to deal with this stuff. And yeah.
Sounds like you've been through. But that's the thing. Your channel is so great because you basically monologue. You know, you put the camera on, you just talk, and you just let it come out. And I can tell, like, this guy's got so many stories to tell. You've clearly experienced a lot of this from many angles, you know, and it's like it just kind of comes out of you. And I'm like, I'm in for it all. I want to hear it all because these experiences help teach me what to look out for. You know, this is actually good. And I mean, I've been obsessed with like narcissism videos for like over a decade since becoming awake at like a truther in a way. They're kind of like a tangent to the conspiracy world. They're kind of a part of it, but not. And I don't know. I feel like, again, it's healthy to know these things because this is what we're up against in a way. And I'm reading the chat here, and most of the people are saying, you know, what terrible people they are. These narcissists are evil. But I'm wondering, and I don't know if it's true. I don't know what my opinion is on this really. I'd like to get your opinion. It's kind of like, are they evil or are they victims who have ended up this way? Is there any hope for them? Can a narcissist change, or is it just in their nature? Are they just evil psychopathic demons walking among us and they only revel in destruction and death and there's no going back? Or are they just people that have really are just damaged in a way? Can they come back from it? I mean, I'd like to think through Jesus's words, we can all be saved. You know, everyone can change. It's never too late. But I don't know. You hear these stories of what these people are actually like, and you have to wonder, are they even human sometimes? You know, and it's easy to fall into that trap, that pit of like, no, I will not forgive them. They're evil. They are monsters. You know, monsters only deserve death, basically, in our minds. You know, it's kind of a silver bullet or a stake through the heart type of thing. You know, it's like they're not human anymore in our minds. And I'm worried about kind of like, well, what are the consequences of that line of thought if we go too extreme? Like, is it not just a simple case of hurt people? I would
say, I think it is a simple case of hurt people. I mean, they are very hurt, damaged people. It's how they become like that. But that does not make the damage they do to others okay. It does not justify who they are at all. You know, they are evil people, but they are hurt and broken, but they are evil people who do acts of evil. And, you know, I think with a lot of people, I mean, I kind of thought this way, that I could kill them with kindness, that I could be nice to them, I could change them. And I kind of realized just like how rotten they are at the core and dealing with them, and just how frustrated I was, and being like, why won't this person see the light of day? Why won't they just make some small changes? So I've had to deal with that, where I'm just like, dude, these people just like, they stay committed to it. But the thing is, if they truly accept Christ, if they truly self-reflect, look at themselves and say, wow, I got a lot of problems. Wow, I got issues. I need to change. If they truly do that, they can change. Anybody
Mm.
can be saved, but most people will not be saved. Most
Yeah,
people
that's
will
true.
choose to cling on to evil. So that's ultimately where I come from, is that most people will choose to cling on to evil. But if a narcissist wants to change and is like, I'm done with this, I'm changing, and they really stick to it and do that and really make amends and, look themselves in the mirror, they can 100% make those changes, for sure. So,
I suppose
but
it's
yeah,
self-awareness and
yeah,
repentance, but I mean, the issue with narcissism, they lack both of those things in a
yeah,
serious a serious deficiency in the ability to be self-reflective. So I guess it's kind of
yeah,
like it sounds hopeless, doesn't it? In a sense. And I think, like I said, if you do end up being in a situation like, all right, man, I've got to change who I am, I don't like this is bad, I've got these terrible traits, I'm hurting people around me, then you were probably never a narcissist to begin with. If you're actually saying those things and are sincerely wanting to change, you were just damaged
well,
by
maybe
society in a sense.
maybe that's the first step to not being a narcissist, because narcissist or not, sociopath, psychopath, whatever, everyone has the innate ability given by God to self-reflect on some level. Everybody does. It's just about whether people choose to or not. And with a lot of bad people, what they are is so evil and so nasty and so ugly, and they don't want to look at that pile of dog shit that's covered in insects and mold and nastiness. They don't want to look at the hellishness and that the evil person that they are, because it's
Mm.
hard to face that. I had a hard time facing myself. How much more so will they have a hard time facing themselves? So
Well,
they just don't want to do that. Yeah.
Carmen Stood is in the chat
Yeah.
here, and she has her own
Yeah.
channel, and just go check her out if you haven't already. But she's saying here the reason they don't heal is because their delusions are so strong that they
Yeah.
don't even see that they need to change. Like, they actually believe their own bullshit
Yeah.
about who they are. I'm a good
Yeah.
person. I am a victim. Everybody is the problem but me. It's
Yeah.
kind of, they really do believe it though. It's
Yeah.
not like they're like, it's like, I don't know, they're living in a fantasy in their own mind, and it's real as far as they're
Yeah.
concerned. Do you have anything to say to that?
Yeah. The thing is, we all have free will. God gave us all the free will to choose. We're all free will beings, and they're choosing the delusions of their ego over what they really need to do. And the thing is, they've made their ego bigger and bigger and bigger, and their delusions bigger and bigger and bigger. And now that it's such a big sphere, they're in it, they're comfortable in it. But no matter how big their ego or delusions are, they can always make the choice to step outside of it. It's a hard choice. It's a tough choice. It's a choice that will require a lot of sacrifice. It will take a lot out of them. It's a very painful choice, but they can always make that choice.
Mm.
Maybe some of them are too far gone. I know Jesus does talk about those who blaspheme the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven on heaven or on earth. And I think I have experienced that with some narcissists, where they have just gone too far and they decided to keep hating. And God put the Spirit of God in me to kind of show them to make changes, show them love and kindness, and show them there's a different way. And they chose to ultimately spit in the face of that. And I think for those type of people, they will reach a point to where they are too far gone, and some of them are definitely too far gone. I mean, I think there is definitely, at some point when it comes to evil and sin and mistreating other people, there is a point of no return where you reach the point of no return, you can't come back. So that
Mm.
exists. But I would say for most people, it's like they are still able to make a choice to do good or do evil, to live in truth or live in delusion, and they're choosing the delusion every time when they should be choosing the truth. So I would
Mm.
say that most of these people have not gotten to that point yet where they've blasphemed the Spirit of God and just done something so horrible and so atrocious there's no coming back from it. I would say most of them could still choose to be good, but that's hard. That will cause a lot of pain for them now and sacrifice for them now. And it'll be a really hard journey for them. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. They'd rather do what's easy and stay deluded.
I hope so. I hope
Yeah.
this can be turned around for all of them. Someone
Yeah.
disagrees here. HMFO says, no,
Yeah.
sorry, that's definitely not true. That narcissists are just hurt people. Many of them have never been traumatized. They've been spoilt. What do you think of that angle?
I think there could be some truth to that. Some of them might be kind of the spoiled children. I don't know. I kind of think of it like this, like, Joseph Stalin had like a son, or you can think about Uday Hussein, Saddam Hussein's son, probably very spoiled, but was Saddam Hussein like a good dad to Uday Hussein, or was he mean to Uday Hussein? I don't know, like I kind of think of it like that. And I guess I don't have all the answers. Maybe some of them were just spoiled, had zero discipline, were just handed everything, that they ever wanted. They had these parents who were just very pathetic and just would bow down to someone who's demanding and domineering, and that demanding, domineering toddler was like, "Give me the toy, give me the candy," and the parents were like, "Oh, candy, toys, right away." So it could be that's where it could manifest from too. Most narcissists I've seen have had a lot of trauma. The vast majority of them I've dealt with have come from really bad families and have had a lot of trauma. Not all of them, but I would say most of them. There's big parental abandonment issues, but maybe some of them are just spoiled. That could definitely be the case. That could definitely be true.
Well, another thing Carmen said here, which I think is something might be worth talking about, because you obviously come from like a religious or a hyper-religious household,
Yeah.
and obviously from the sounds of it, a narcissistic hyper-religious household. And she's saying here that, the Bible is often used by narcissists to put people into submission, like religious narcissism. Do you have any thoughts on that idea? Do you maybe want to just riff on that concept?
The Bible. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there. The devil knows the Bible. And like I said before about anything can be manipulated, anything can be manipulated. So the devil will literally take the Bible. I think there's even a part where maybe when Jesus is I might be getting this wrong, when Jesus is spending 40 days in the desert, where I think the devil actually does just that, where he takes Bible verses, puts them out of context, and uses them as a weapon of attack, So 100% the Bible can be twisted up and misused by narcissistic people, manipulative people, and they can use it with their own hatred and their own anger and twist it up and use it as a way to make you feel guilty, be controlling. You could have narcissistic parents. They can say, honor your mother and father, therefore you have to put up with all our BS. When really all that means is just like, if your parents ask you to take out the trash and you're a kid, take out the trash, be a well-behaved child, that's all that really like means. It's just a very basic like teaching, like respect your elders basically, but they'll act crazy and act mean and like way overstep that and be like, well, I'm your parent and you have to put up with all my insane stuff. And meanwhile, Jesus also said, like, if someone asked to join Jesus and he said, I'd love to join you, but I got to bury my father. And Jesus said, let the dead bury their own dead. So, Jesus wasn't playing around there. He's saying, you can follow me, or, your father, he's not just dead, but in the second death, and you can be dead with him too if you want, or you can be alive and rock with me. So, God wants us to roll with him. He doesn't, he wants us to respect our parents, like as parents. Like if I had a kid, I wouldn't want my kid to like be messing around, getting in trouble. Like if I ask them to do some chores, they don't do it. I wouldn't want that. That's all that means. But if you're like you're screaming and yelling at your kids and being nuts, like that's a sin too. And being all manipulative, like that's evil as well. So yeah, people will take the Bible and they will twist it up and misuse it for their own egotistical reasons, their own selfish reasons. And, that's like taking the name of the name of the Lord in vain, doing that pretty much, that's using God's name in vain, doing that. So
yeah, it's kind of that, like, you can imagine any narcissist who's kind of got children. It's like, you've got to honor your mother and father, God said he had to, and it's that kind of like they've got you there, haven't they? And my argument to that would be again, well, if they haven't treated you like a child, then they're not your father or mother, so you're not beholden to that. They broke the contract as far as I'm concerned by that point, and it's kind of, they're not giving you the same respect back and honor as their child, and why should you honor them as your parents? So I don't, but this is how the narcissist would do it. They would browbeat with legalism.
Yep. Yeah.
Legally speaking, God
Yep.
said you must
Yeah.
accept my bad behavior for X, Y,
Yeah.
and Z reasons. And it's kind of, and if you are of a religiosity type of churchianity
Yep.
world, in a sense, you would be like, I don't want to make God angry. And as
Yeah.
a child, especially, you know, you can easily fall victim to that kind of control quite easily. It's a very
Yeah.
evil, pernicious, satanic version of narcissistic
Yeah.
control. One thing I want to kind of, before we pivot to the next topic here, one thing I kind of want to ask you about this whole no contact thing again. I think a lot of people struggle heavily with attempting to go no contact with
Yeah.
abusive parents, you know.
Yeah.
And do you have any advice for anybody who may be trying to go through that in some way? Do you maybe want to speak to experience of what you've learned about the process and kind of, you know, how did your family react initially, and what are the ongoing recurring issues as time goes on throughout the months and the years? And do you have any advice at all before we move on to the next topic?
I don't know. I mean, for my parents, I just kind of put them out of my mind, to be honest. I don't really think about them much. Sometimes something will come up and it'll like make me angry, but I'll just kind of get past it. And I'm kind of like a cat. I'm just like, I don't want to deal with these people. Bye. You're out of here. I'm not going to talk to you again, you know? So that's how I am. Most people are not like that. So I get that it's tough. It's a hard thing to do. It takes a lot of resolve. It's something you should think through a lot. And, you know, definitely think about a lot. But it was just something where I realized just how much I was being manipulated. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. So that's what I did. But yeah, no contact is tough. And I remember I just told my brother, like, he texted me, like, saying my dad wants to do a barbecue. And I'm like, dude, I quit the family. That's just how I put it. It's a hard thing. It's a really hard thing to tell people that you're not going to talk to them ever again, you know? But for me, I just had to move forward and not look back and just, yeah, basically. But yeah, you kind of got to be made out of stone a little bit, I guess, to do it, you know? But that's all I can really say with that. You know, it's hard. It's
hard.
tough.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. I mean, the problem is, it's like, because of that guilt, I think people feel it's kind of like, they're my parents.
Yeah.
I want a relationship with parents. I think after a while, you can start to forget or forgive, because it's been a while since you've seen them, or maybe it wasn't that bad, you know, and people tend to like let them back in their life, and then very quickly it's the same repeated cycle of abuse again, and then you're stuck back in the same trap again, and you've got to go through the process again of not getting. It's just I think a lot of people like be worried about that cycle, you know. But it's tough. It's a horrible, tough thing to behold, definitely. And I don't have any advice. I don't know. Just it's a struggle, man. I think it's sad. It's a sad sign that this is actually a common thing now. A lot of younger people kind of divorcing themselves from their parents because of kind of what's happened over the years. And I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. Like, if it's a bad sign, I guess is what I should say more than anything, isn't it? In overall. But yeah. Anyway, moving on. Another topic I've noticed you kind of discuss on your channel quite a lot, and maybe it might speak to your audience quite well as well, and to someone, obviously yourself, a young man, you know, still out there in the dating game, shall we say. I mean, I'm married, you know, I've got kids. I'm in a completely different world. I'm not in that world. I'm not in the dating world, thank God, you know, because from what I hear, from what people like yourself talk about, it sounds like it's really bad. Like, it's really rough out there right now. And you maybe want to talk to your experiences with that and what you've noticed. And I'll give it to you.
It's tough out there, you know. I don't want to be too red pilled or anything, but with a lot of the stuff, with a lot of the kind of leftism and the feminism and stuff like that, it's really taught women to just like hate men, see men as the enemy, see men as the cause of all problems, and that if you're a woman, you're a victim of men in every regard of life, pretty much. And I don't know, like, I remember there was a girl I worked with. I mean, she was married, it wasn't like that, but she just starts to sing, "Kill all men." I didn't do anything. I just kind of looked at her like, what the F are you doing, you know? But there's a culture of just like hating men, and you know, it's kind of tough out there, you know. So I just kind of like, you got to really be careful when kind of dealing with women to kind of make sure and feel it out. Like, is she one of the hardcore radical feminist types, or is she cool? And you kind of got to feel that out and make sure you don't get caught in that trap. But just also, it's a lot of broken people, you know. even if you take that away, a lot of broken men, a lot of broken women, a lot of people who've been burned by the hookup culture and by the apps and by whatever, all the, for men especially, the adult content has like desensitized us. So now that makes it harder to have intimacy. And a lot of us didn't come from good families. So our parents didn't set the right example for intimacy. So now that's hard. And, of course, there's a political divide as well. And, all the apps and stuff. And, it's kind of tough to find the right person on these apps. And I feel like also as a man, it's like you can't really approach women anymore because I've had a couple girls like flip out on me, like get really mad, whatever. So I'm like, now that I've dealt with that, like, and I just know with a lot of women, it's just like really bad vibes. And I could tell that it's like, maybe it's also because I'm awakened and they're not awakened. So like kind of the Jezebels want to persecute like the prophets of God and stuff. So it could be that too. I don't know, but it's rough out there. It's tough out there. And the thing is, even if you can find someone that you're in line with, like things could come up that are just normal couple problems, normal relationship problems, and you could run into issues there. Like there's girls I've known who are nice girls, but unfortunately there was some stuff we couldn't work out. There was some issues, whatever, so you're going to run into like normal relationship problems, normal fights too, on top of this cultural divide, political divide, on top of all the ways technology has just like messed us up in terms of dating. So it's not as easy as our parents had it. It's really not. It's tough out there. I haven't given up hope, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm happy being single. If I can find someone who makes me even happier, great. If not, I'm good. But yeah, it's tough. And I think relationships have always been tough, but I think just nowadays it's made them like pretty much next to impossible, and
it's funny you talking about this. There's this hyper feminist, and I'm all for women having equality and being on par. And I'm not a misogynist. I think women are powerful and they have the necessary, and I love women, and my mother's a woman, and this type of thing. It's like there's nothing, but I think that, like I said, this hyper man-hating version of feminism, which has kind of replaced the original form, where it's just about just let us vote, let us have a say, let us just be a part on the table, let us have a place at the table, let us be here together, let's just have our roles and do them right, and work together as a team. It's gone way beyond the original feminism of the first wave, and now, like I said, women are walking around singing "Kill all men." That's extreme. That's extremism. That actually is extremism. But on the other side, I observe these cultures online. It's kind of what I do, and there's the red pill culture from the manosphere, which is just the same. It's actually just equally as bad, and it's kind of women are the problem for everything. They have caused all the issues in civilization and society, and it's kind of they are not to be trusted. They are the devil, and if you have a relationship one, it's a death sentence, and it's that kind of attitude, and it's kind of okay. So if you've got the hyper feminists on one side saying kill all men, and then the hyper, I don't know what you would call them, masculinists, saying, women are all evil harpies who want to suck you dry and drain you of your blood. It's kind of, what hope do we have if we all adopt these ideologies of the extremes to have any relationships, children, or a civilization at all in like a 3 generations time? It's going to be, it's a bad sign. And I remember seeing a TikTok video ages ago, and I have to try and dig this up because I referenced it quite a lot because it stuck with me when I saw it. And it was a woman, and she was showing her feed, and she said it's nothing but like man-hating or trying to make you question your man's motives type videos, or does your man do this type videos, or test if your man's been talking about this behind your back, or is your man cheating on you type of videos. Nothing but that all the time, negativity, making them question their relationship all the time, or put them in that mindset of like judgmental towards men in general, or mistrust towards your current partner. And then the guy looked at his feed on his phone, her partner, and it was nothing but women hating stuff. And it's kind of like they have no idea why they're getting this, but it's like curated towards them on purpose to divide them. It's like an outside entity is trying to break them up through technology and through mainstream media, through the social media. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's trying to make them not trust each other, and it's kind of that's a really terrifying sign. It's like by design they're trying to destroy relationships through social media, basically, by using these extremes as examples on people's phones. And when I see stuff like that, I'm like, what? I'm glad I'm not in the dating game. Like, what is going on out there? What is happening, man? Like, that's really scary stuff. Like, people are not in the right mindset. Again, I went on a bit there. I'll give it to you.
That's a great point you made. That's an awesome point you made. Where, I mean, my YouTube is mostly red pill stuff. It's compilations mostly of girls on TikTok or whatever, maybe being entitled or doing something that's like, you're not going to like to see as a guy. And then I guess for girls, I guess it's the opposite, where it's all this stuff about how men are so bad and stuff. And the matrix in the system is trying to make men and women be divided and to hate each other. And, if men and women can't get along, then, that makes them easier to control. They can fight against each other. I think the Matrix just wants to divide us any way we can. Divide us by gender, divide us by religion, divide us by race, divide us by politics. That's probably the biggest one now. Any way to get division in us. And on the more feminist side of things too, the university system and the colleges and all that, the education system, they've done a big number in pushing that forward and in getting that agenda out there. So the system's a big part of it. And then I don't know, you look at guys like Andrew Tate, who's like a weird psycho guy, like teach you to be an alpha male or something. Like, I don't know about all that, homie, so there's the other side of it too. And I think the system wants men and women to hate each other and to be divided against each other. So we're easy to control. We have something we're caught up on. We have something we're distracted with. We're like broken down in this low negative state, and the Epstein Island and Diddy parties can happen, and we're way too focused on this stuff. And I think they want us in this like low, broken down, low self-esteem, kind of like disempowered, hateful kind of state, because then we're very easy to control and we won't stand up and we'll just be mentally like broken, and I think that's the way to do it is gender divide. I think, the gender divide war is happening right now and it's raging and it's getting worse. And
the division's on all fronts, though, isn't it? It's on politics, gender, race, relationships, vaccines, whatever. Division's everywhere. It's kind of, and that divide and conquer is the tactic that's always been, it's tried and tested and true. It works. Why break something? Why change something if it's not broken? Why try and fix it? So I think they've been just dividing us on many fronts. And I would like to say, though, this does feel like a predominantly Western issue, which makes you also question what the agenda is behind why we're the ones that are targeted specifically. Perhaps because in terms of cohesiveness, our civilization seems to be one of the best throughout history. And it seems like we have enemies outside of that who want to break that down and make us weaker, perhaps usually for domination, control, and for a military takeover eventually. So there's something to maybe be thinking about there on the edge of it. But I think the biggest issue between the gender divide is the lack of children. And if you don't have population, exactly. It's I mean, the birth rates are terrible. I think we're below 2.2 by a long shot. And without that, you're not replacing yourself. You're actually getting smaller. But then at the same time, our population seems to be getting bigger here in Europe. How is that possible? When you look at the math and you realize migration is a huge thing to do with that. And there's many things to be said about plans long term in the making about what's going on there, and I don't think I'm allowed to talk about that without being vague as possible, as you can see right now. But it's scary. I think we're seeing those long-term agendas coming to fruition now through these tiny little macrocosmic issues like kill all men or women are to blame for everything. It's like, if we could just rise above all of that, all of this nonsense would just fall apart very quickly. And it's kind of realizing, I think, forgiveness, first of all. Yes, we both have problems. We're not perfect. Nobody is. Forgive them for the shortcomings. Men are going to be men and be idiots and do stupid things. Women are going to be women and do their thing as well. It's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, people are people. Like, we're a bit of a mess. Like, I think we need to be a bit more forgiving towards each other. But I feel like in this society, especially a highly narcissistic society, forgiveness is weakness. Yeah. And that's our biggest problem. And that's why I think Christianity would be the fix-all for all of this, because it's forgiveness is kind of its thing. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about. But I don't know. I'll give it to you. Do you have any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I'll address what you said earlier in a very careful way. I'll say that if you have an area and it's predominantly one culture, and then if you bring another culture in, it's going to cause a sense of confusion no matter what area, no matter what culture, no matter what it is. It's like we've been living here, we've been doing things this way. Now we got this different group of people. They do things an entirely different way. And it's going to cause people to be more confused, more divided. People are less likely to become united and organized. And you could do that in any place in the world. And it's going to cause people are going to be hanging out together less, a little more
Hmm.
friction, little more division, so I think that's a part of the plan, cultural divide. I think that's a big part of it as well. That's all I'll
Yeah.
say for that. But yeah, I would say we do need a lot more forgiveness, a lot more just live and let live, and more of a mentality of love, not of like division. Like, how can I be mad at someone? What can I be mad at today? And I find myself falling into that trap sometimes too, watching YouTube or the news or something. I'm like, what can I be mad at today? And I'm like, wait a second. I got to be about love, but all the stuff we watch on, whether it's YouTube, the media, entertainment, it's like to get us like scared and mad and feeling threatened. And then if people feel scared and mad and threatened enough, it will manifest into an actual conflict. You got two guys in the room and they both feel angry at each other and scared at each other, even if it's for a totally dumb reason and it's a misunderstanding. They're going to
Hmm.
start fighting with each other, arguing, throwing fists, whatever, if they feel that way enough. And I think a lot of this is being projected onto us to just get us in this divided, low, negative state. And then when we're all fighting amongst each other, the elites can just control us easy, because we're so busy fighting amongst each other, we don't even know what they're doing. We got no idea about it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that they've turned,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, 2% of the population into extreme narcissistic psychopaths that we have to
Yep.
deal with in
Yeah.
between as well, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a scary world. It's troubling.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm kind of hopeful that we have communities like this. Like I said, I've got
Yes.
161 people just listening right now to this, and this video might get into 3,000 views, hopefully, but that's good because it shows that there are people out there who are craving these conversations, these discussions. I think the
Yeah.
discourse is
Yeah.
shifting in civilization now, in Western society specifically. I think we're now talking about the problem. People are noticing a lot of things, and I think there's some kind of pendulum shift happening in
Yeah.
some way. And I think the narcissists in society have had like free reign for a while to kind of
Yeah.
remain not in our consciousness. We haven't been aware of them.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of worried a little bit though about the cornered animal effect because
Yeah.
narcissists don't like to be exposed. And
No.
it seems like we're living in a society now where people are like clued in,
Yeah.
recognizing them more. And I mean, are you hopeful or are you pessimistic about the future? I don't know. I'm here and there. I can see both sides. But what's your opinion on that?
I kind of think that before the end times, there will be a revival. So before the end truly comes, I think there will be a revival, and Jesus will kind of like make it really known to the world, like, hey, I'm God, final warning before stuff comes to an end. So I think that's kind of maybe where we're at now. I'm not totally sure though, but that's kind of my feeling. And I've made a video about this in the past called "We're All a Drop of Rain in the Hurricane of Change." And I think there's just too many of us. Like, too many of us are waking up. Too many of us are, having our voices be loud. And I think ideologically, on all sides of things, whether it's religion, politics, everyone's kind of confused. Everyone's kind of declining and falling apart, except technology. Technology's still strong as hell, but everything else, like organized religion, politics, everyone's kind of getting egg on their face and looking stupid. Everyone's kind of losing faith in the system, I would say, en masse.
Mm.
And then when they lose faith in the system, I'm here. Come watch my videos. Check me out. Join the Tiger family. Join Understanding Conspiracy. Come hang out with us. Come watch our videos. Come be a part of it. Hey, start
Hmm.
making your own videos. And I think that this type of we're going to start to come into the mainstream narrative, and we're going to start to say, hey, we're here too. It's not just we're not on the outside anymore. We're here too, and we're going
Hmm.
to keep moving forward, and we're going to become more powerful, and we're going to come here and we're going to kind of take over. In a righteous sense, but yeah, I think that is happening. We're starting to slowly but surely gain ground and take over with a whole new way of thinking that flies in the face of the system. I
Hmm.
don't think we'll necessarily be the majority, but I think we'll be a very large vocal minority of people. Maybe 10, 15% of the population is going to start to come on board with this kind of way of thinking that we're doing. So, and I think people have tried everything else. Like I tried organized religion. I tried being political. I tried this. I tried that. I tried being about money and ego, and none of it worked. And I'm like, all right, I got to be about the truth. I got to be about God, and I got to tell the truth, and I have to, destroy illusions where I find them. So I think a lot of people are waking up. And I also think that consciousness has gotten so low, there's kind of a bounce off effect that like kind of going to bounce off the ground. And I think a lot of people, it's like Jesus says, like, I'd rather you be hot or cold. I have this against you that you're lukewarm. He says that in Revelations, I believe. And I think it's kind of like people are going to hit the ground where they're so cold and they're like, man, no one's friends anymore. Society's collapsing. Everything is just greedy. Everything's fake. There's all this false sense of morality. All people are like, you know what? F all that. I'm going to do the other thing. So I think there is going to be that kind of effect where things are going to get so bad. It's going to force people to be like, you know what? No, I'm out on this. I'm not doing this,
I
Yeah.
hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I think God's in control. I think if enough people are faithful, He can turn any bad situation around. Absolutely. And whatever time we're in, or whenever the end is coming, in whatever capacity or form, I do think it's how long is a piece of string situation, as I like to say. It's as long as it takes, and I think God can delay anything and let us live for as long as we need to live in peace if we so show our faith. And again, I think there is going to be like a rebound effect. I think it's happening. I think we're in the middle of it. I think we're in the middle of that bounce you're talking about right now. I don't think it's at the rock bottom anymore. I think we're looking down at those left behind who are still at the bottom, kind of like, come on, let's get them up here with us in a way. Like it's time to stop this nonsense. And again, the mainstream sources and mainstream propaganda is failing dramatically now, and people are turning to alternative sources. I'm hopeful for the younger generations. I'm hearing really good things about like Generation X and even lower than that. It's kind of, these kids are like, you can't tell them anything. They're not believing the nonsense from the like authorities at all, not even a little bit, because the internet obviously is like, well, you're teaching me this, but what about I've learned this online and read these books, and it's kind of like you teach me false history. Like people are not buying it anymore. Things are going to change drastically because this whole new generation, I think people describe this new generation of kids as incredibly based. That's one way to describe it, like an internet term. They're just and they're living through a bad time. Like inflation's through the roof, war everywhere, complete propaganda. Again, the internet's a mess. Like it's full of disgusting things, like instant access to it, screens since birth type of stuff. The new generation of kids, I think, are burnt out and exasperated and washed up at a much younger age, to the point where they rebel much younger, and they like see through it all very quickly, because they have the ability to search anything they want instantly. And I think they've realized, I've been born into a world that's on fire. And they've decided to, I don't know, check out in a way and just not conform or capitulate in any way, shape, or form. And I feel like the millennial generation, like mine and yours, we were in it. We grew up with all the propaganda and the screens developing as they were fresh and brand new. And, we had every new phone iteration as it came out before it became the black box in our hand. Like we saw a world just before it was the way it was today. And I don't know, I feel like we're products of the propaganda more than anything, our generation. They're not. This new generation is not. Like they saw through it very quickly and are forging a new world, a new path. From their perspective, I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know when these just generations in power, what they're going to do, or what kind of change they're going to implement in some way. But I'm hopeful that it's going to be better than what we have now. And I am seeing like a rise of Christianity, mainly Orthodoxy. Orthodox Christianity seems to be the most popular right now. But it's kind of people are rejecting the everything's meaningless ideology of atheism. They're rejecting it wholeheartedly because it's a part of the authoritarian propaganda regime, so they want to go the other way. It's like, no, God is real, instead, just as a rebellious act. And there's nothing more rebellious than believing in Jesus in this day and age. So,
Very true. Well, Jesus was the ultimate rebel. He said, get a sword so I'll be among the criminals. He was crucified next to two criminals, He was a rebel. He was a good man. He did no crimes, but he was put among the criminals because of the fact that he was against the system, so
Mm-hmm. Well, amen to that. Right.
Yeah.
Well, we've gone for 1 hour 40 here, so I'm going to have to start wrapping this up now, man. Did you want to make a point there before we go?
I would just say check out my channel, Truth Tiger. Come check it out. Come subscribe. Come watch my videos. Huge thanks to you, Paul, for having me on. I was pretty nervous before this, and it was really a moment where I felt very like it's like a glow up. It's like your channel is pretty big. You've got a lot of kind of traction. You're definitely a big figure out there. So, and I'd watched your Nephilim Clown videos, and I really enjoyed them. I think I watched a couple of your videos about the old world order maybe as well. And so it was really cool that you reached out to me. This was an amazing blessing. So I really appreciate you for having me on so much. This is awesome, man. This is amazing. So I just got to give you my gratitude, and I'd love to come on again.
Absolutely. No, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. I'm just some guy in an office with a laptop. I'm not anything, man. Don't worry about it. Like I always, like I told you before we started, like don't watch the live, don't look at the numbers. It's just me and you. We're just having a conversation, and this is what I like to do. I just like to have conversations with people who I like listening to, and I really enjoy your work. I think what you do is great. Keep it up. Keep doing it. You're gaining a lot of like support quickly from what I've seen. Like you've gained like 10,000 subscribers in like the past like 3 months alone or something from what I've seen, which is incredible. Keep up the great work, man. You're doing really well. And anyone listening, go and subscribe to Michael's channel, Truth Tiger. Go and listen to some of his talks. You'll be like me. You'll be driving along in the car, listening with him as he's driving along, talking, just like I do on a daily basis. So yeah, thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it, and God bless.
Yeah, God bless you too, Paul.
All right. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
So there we go, guys. Truth Tiger, as you can see on the screen here, if I can get it up. For some reason, everything's just kind of glitched out on me. There we go. We'll close that. We'll close that one. There's his channel. Go and check out Michael's channel, Truth Tiger. That was a fun conversation. I really enjoyed talking with him about narcissism. But as you can see on this, he talks about all sorts of things. I've gone through quite a lot of them, as you can see here. It's great. It's great stuff to listen to. Really likable guy. Really personable guy as well. And I think we need more characters like him in the game. So yeah, go and subscribe to him. Check him out. So before I end this show, like I said, I just want to have a talk to you guys for a little bit first. I'll switch up the camera here. Like I said, I'm going to get more guests on the Truth or Therapy sessions as best I can, because this is what it's all about. It's by getting other people in the field of researching hard realities, and hard truths, and just talking out their journey, their experiences, and kind of what they've been through. And I am, like I said, putting out the feelers to get more guests in, and my camera's in a weird position. Let me just fix that. There we go. So if anyone has any suggestions, or anybody out there they think might make a good guest, just for them to kind of tell their journey, their story, and kind of what they've been through necessarily, and also riff a little bit on their own specialized topic, whatever that may be, send me some names. Send me an email at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com, or leave a comment down in this video as well if you're so inclined. That would be wonderful. So like I said, at the end of this show, you're going to get redirected to the next episode for the Understanding Creativity channel, which is my side channel. If you haven't seen it, it's just here. It looks like this. And yes, I will be releasing the next episode, which is for the Occult Art series, and we are breaking down Pablo Picasso, and some of the dark occult undertones between a lot of his work and his narcissistic life and attitude towards women, and the abuses that he put upon people, and the utter rejection from his own daughter, all sorts of things, that history tends to gloss over or forgive him for, or excuse his bad behavior for. And I think we're going to point out in this presentation. And if you didn't know much about Picasso, you'll be shocked to learn what's in that presentation. So stay tuned. It'll redirect you after this show straight to that video, so you know where to go and watch it. Or go over there already if you haven't subscribed already, and get ready for that video. But you've got me, guys, for maybe 10 more minutes. Leave any questions if you have any questions, any comments if you have any comments. But I also just want to mention that I do have another batch of books coming soon, maybe in a week or two. If you want to order yourself a signed copy of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, I'm extending the offer I had for a bit longer. where if you do buy one of them or pre-order from this batch, I will give you a code for a audiobook for free. It'll come with the package. So if you want to buy a signed copy of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com and we'll get it sorted through PayPal. It's £50 for paperback, £60 for hardcover. That ships to anywhere in the world. It's a flat rate. There's no tax on top of that or postage on top of those prices, and I can ship to America and anywhere in the world, in fact. And that's why the price is what it is. It covers the postage and everything included. And you'll get a signed copy sent from me personally to your house. But I'll also give you a code in the meantime for a free copy of the audiobook on Audible. So that's the offer on the table, guys. It's a great way to support me directly. No one gets a cut or a fee from like Amazon or anything like that. It all goes to me. So there we go. That's probably the best way. But if you also just want the audiobook, maybe you've already got a copy of the book itself and you just want the audiobook as it is, you can buy that from me directly as well for £20. So you can pay £20 on Amazon and they'll take 60%, okay? Or ask me, pay £20 to me, I keep 100% and I'll give you a code and you can go get your copy as well. So that's another offer I have on the table. You just have to email me first at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com. So there's my pulling into Shilltown. We can leave Shilltown now. Let's check the chat. Let's see who's here. Let's see what's going on. So I see the Cult of Cons in the house. Thanks again, Paul, for your work. No problem, man. No, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I saw you did a quick shout out at some point for the Christian Dominion movement. I know you're working hard on pushing forward with that angle, and I wish you Godspeed. The church has lied for us for centuries, says Dan North. Got Carmen Studer still here. We've got Humble Stranger in the house as well. Great to see you. We've got Dan North. We've got Linda. Is that Linda Smedley? Linda Smedley still here. Lots of regular faces. We got Jana. We've got Oasis of Change, two of my favorites. That was a crossover of your dreams, was it? Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. I didn't expect to see Truth Tiger on here. Yeah, well, there we go. Like I said, I've been following him for a while, and I thought, you know what? It's what I used to do. Let's reach out to these channels, get them on, get them to talk, you know. Thanks for covering the subject, says Amelia. No problem. It's a tough subject to cover. I cover it a lot. I have videos on this already. If you go on my channel and just type in narcissism, you'll find there's actually quite a lot of narcissistic breakdowns and videos and discussions on the topic of modern day narcissism. And it's something I do like to come back to on the channel quite a lot. So yeah, that I will be doing that. And I actually have a special guest coming soon. We're not going live, but next Sunday after my Truth or Therapy sessions, I'm going to be talking with somebody who's very much in the industry of entertainment, and we're going to talk about narcissism in that as well in the future, and among many other dark, interesting things. So that's coming soon as well, guys. So exciting! It's exciting stuff. I'm happy about it, And also, I've got a lot of podcast visits coming up recently as well. Like people have been reaching out to me a lot just to talk. Mainly about the clowns and just other things in general, which is quite fun. So yeah, they're going to see a lot of me releasing a lot of these podcast visits soon. I actually have released a recent visit with Izzy Griffin. He's a musician, seems to have quite a cult following himself in some way. And he got me on to talk about Jesters, and we even talked about Joe Rogan on there and all sorts of other things and the Royal Order of the Jesters. But the way he does things, he puts one half of the show out on YouTube, and then the other half goes on Patreon. I'm the other half he's put on Patreon. So I've done the same. I've released our discussion on my Patreon. So if you're a Patreon member, you can go and listen to that if you want. But also if you're a member of YouTube, I've made it available to you guys as well. So I've only paywalled it because he has, and I don't want to release something he hasn't released himself to the public. So it's only fair, it would be poor form if I did, if I just released it and he's trying to sell it, I feel bad doing that. So that's available if you aren't aware of that. But like I said, there are other things coming as well. I'm trying to release more on Patreon because I've kind of fallen behind. There's a members only chat available on there as well. There's a video on there currently on Patreon, which is Tuesday's video. That'll be released on Tuesday to the public. But for early access, a week early, it's available on Patreon too. So there's more there for you guys if you're interested and you're looking for another way to support me where you get something back in return. Go and check that out too if you haven't already, guys. You're the best, Paul, says Call of Khan. Yeah, calling out the Dominion movement for you there. I'm your number one promoter, and I don't even charge. Like, I should start charging for all this free promotion. I love Truth Tiger. Subscribe to this man. He's great, says Ryan. He is, yeah, exactly, guys. Go and follow his channel. Like I said, he was nervous, but I think he did a great job. I'm sure you guys think he did a great job too. I was a victim of a Christian narcissist. Sorry to hear that, Dan North. Thank you for the kind words. We keep praying and working for truth and the church's strength. God guides those who stay faithful through trials and lies. Let's keep the faith stronger than ever. Absolutely, I agree. Amen to that. Trish Clark, I might want another book, but already have the book and Audible book, so I might just want another copy of the book. I'll talk to Scott, says Trish. It's up to you if you want another copy of the book. Like I said, the batch is coming in about a week or two, and then someone's already pre-ordered one, and they've got theirs of that. It's usually a 10-book batch, so I guess I've got 9 left, you know. Just let me know if you want a hardcover or a paperback, and I can make sure the order's set and everything, and we can get what we need in. So yeah, there you go. Michelangelo began painting the Final Judgment exactly 1,000 years after 536, the worst year ever. Interesting, Mr. Jones. Yeah, we're still on that. I want to buy a book, Paul, but it's so hard for me to save money. Ontario's economy is so messed up. Oh yeah, Canada's money's awful from what I've seen. You guys have a really bad time with your money over there, like a really bad time. The Canadian dollar's worthless. Like, it would cost you maybe like 120 Canadian dollars, I think, just to get the book at that price. I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. But again, if you want some help, Jeff Nugent, maybe I could sell you the audiobook for just for you, special price, make it easier. I'll give it to you for £10. There you go. That's half the price it's going for on Amazon. So, Jeff, if you want the audiobook, I can get you a copy of that. I can send you a code and you can listen to the whole audiobook for £10, which is probably 22 Canadian dollars or something. I don't know. It'll be something like that. So email me, Jeff, if you're interested in doing that at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com, and you'll get yourself a copy of the audiobook. Paul collabing with True Tiger. What? Yeah. So scroll on to the chat here. Not too bad to have an extra copy around. I guess not, yeah. Lend it to a friend or a loved one, yeah. Spread the truth, you know. Paul, I always tell people about your Nephilim and Jester research is so elucidating. Well, thank you. Like, I'm currently writing the second book. Tuesdays are my allocated days for writing now. I do like 5 to 6 hours of writing every Tuesday, and it's chugging along, and hopefully that can get published sooner rather than later, but I can't promise any dates on when that's going to get done. It's going to be a big 300-page meaty book again, full of references. I've already got like 70 or something, and I'm only 17,000 words into the first half, so it's it's getting a bit ridiculous. But yeah, it's on its way, and thanks for sharing the work with people. I really appreciate it. Can I e-transfer for the book? It's through PayPal. That's just the way I do it. Some people don't like that, but I can't do the American apps that people use, like Venmo and all those type of ones. It's America only. I can only do PayPal because I'm in England, in the UK. So that's just how it works for invoicing and things like this. So that's how I would do it. So if you're interested, you'd be paying through PayPal. There we go. I'm sorry. It's really my only option. Paul, you're amazing, brother. I'll definitely send you an email, Jeff. There you go, Jeff. Yeah, we can sort that. I can help you out. You know, I can sort these things out for people. I can do what I can. Mark Passio. Yes, he mentioned Mark Passio. When he mentioned Mark Passio, I was like, wow, that's a blast from the past. I used to listen to that guy going on about the Trivium all the time, like years ago. Maybe I have to catch up with him, see what he's up to these days. Mark Passio. Yeah, that's a nostalgic name. Right, guys, so we're coming up to the hour mark there. Like I said, in 5 minutes' time, the next episode on Understanding Creativity is about to premiere. Go over there. Lots of great stuff about Pablo Picasso and the dark stuff you probably wouldn't even know about. It's going to be presented in that presentation. I'm going to leave it here on this talk. Thanks for listening. Go and subscribe to Truth Tiger. Get yourself a copy of the book, or go to the new merch store at Fourth Wall and get yourself a Nephilim Look Like Clowns hat. Who knows? If you're interested in that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm going to leave that there, guys. Thanks for listening. I'll be back soon with more videos. I'll be back on Tuesday. There'll be a release that's currently on Patreon, and on Wednesday I'll be doing the live Q&A as usual. I'm also on a podcast visit that day too, but I'll let you all know the details when I on the live show, So we'll leave it there. Thanks for listening. And as always, God bless.
In a world where 54% of Americans read below a 6th grade level,
Could you read this?
It's impossible. I just see his words everywhere.
one man wrote a book about the hidden truth behind clowns.
I finally finished it. Everything's going to be okay now. Links down below to the Amazon.
But he was about to find out
Your primary market is the USA, and it ranks 36th in global literacy rates, with over 43 million adults unable to read or write.
getting the truth to people is no day at the circus.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm the real clown.
Nobody reads anymore.
Have you considered recording an audiobook?
You're going to get a sore throat.
You're serious about this, aren't you?
You don't understand. I have to do this. The people have to know.
That book will ruin everything.
I will not use AI to record this.
We can't let him reach them.
This is just something I need to do. I don't even like clowns. The end.
Now they can hide that they're completely illiterate. This is amazing.
This season, playing on rectangular devices with black screens near you. The Nephilim looked like clowns. The audiobook.